This isn't just another podcast. We're crushing the taboos and we're rewriting the rules. It's the space where we normalize women becoming wealthy. If you're done playing small and ready to become the CEO of your life and the architect of your future, then my girl, you're in the right room. Welcome to your wealthy era. Welcome to the Wealthy CEO podcast. Today's guest is the definition of unapologetic wealth and freedom. Stef Skye is a powerhouse entrepreneur, investor, and high-ticket sales coach who retired at just 29. After leaving corporate burnout behind, she built a seven-figure brand teaching women to confidently create wealth on their own terms. This conversation will show you how Stef's dismantling outdated money rules and showing women how to print their own wealth. I am so excited to welcome Stef Skye today on the Wealthy CEO podcast. My girl, thanks for joining.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
It's so good to have you on. And for those who don't know, Stef and I became recent besties. We were a part of another female empowerment women talk and instantly just connected. And so here she is now on the podcast.
Yes, I love it. We literally did become like instant besties. It was like a couple other people. I was like, that is my girl. Like, love what she does, her mission, everything. So yeah, super excited that brought us together.
So, Stef, for those who don't know you, I want to jump a little bit into what I'm going to call for you, like the freedom shift. You went from 9 to 5, and obviously there must have been a moment, maybe multiple things, but tell us a little bit about your journey in seeking freedom. And if there was a turning point for you where you decided you're like, I'm over this 9 to 5, it's not cutting it.
Yeah. So for me, I think it goes back, really childhood, watching my mother. She was a bartender. She still is to this day. She missed every single birthday, every single Christmas, but she was a hustler. Like, we were pretty much a one income household. My dad had, things he did on the side, but really like the stability in the 9 to 5 world was my mom, which back then was like a 12, 16-hour shift. You know what I mean?
Right.
So respected the hustle, but also growing up, I was missing her on birthdays and Christmases and these special events. And, as later on in life, went to college, got my degree, and I thought that that was the only way to create wealth and income was to go get a job, go to school, go get a job, and then retire at, 60, whatever. And it's something never really sat right with me. Never really sat right with me. I actually went to Africa for a couple months to do research on PTSD and depression in Ghana. And after that, everything shifted because over there, they don't buy bread for a week. They buy it by the slice. They have no idea if they're going to make it that long. And I'm like, why am I here, like, working my butt off for what? Like, for what type of life do I want? And so, after serving jobs and bartending jobs and, all these stressful corporate sales jobs, I was like, there's got to be another freaking way. Like, how do I escape the matrix?
Mm-hmm. It's so true. So true. And I mean, what a perspective you would have gained as well from just being over in Ghana and seeing how people live and are arguably they're happier with less than we work so much for the material glam, right? Where we're breaking ourselves and there's so much more to life than trying to seek joy, which I don't ever believe you will be fulfilled in finding joy in material things, right?
No.
So when you came back, like what were like some of your first steps towards building your own business? Because I mean, I grew up myself, actually, like I've worked in orphanages in Venezuela and I did that all throughout my high school and have gone to different countries and have gained similar insights, perspectives. I've seen how other people live. And I'm sure there's other people on here who will be like, yeah, me too. But that still doesn't help me break out of the 9 to 5. and as much as they want to do that, I'd love to hear just a bit of your journey after you made that decision where you were like, okay, there's more, I'm seeking freedom. What were some of those first steps you did?
So for me, going over there, I would see multiple different entrepreneurs, right? And they had nothing. They had nothing except like this really deep belief inside of them to create something that other people needed. And that was the majority of what I saw over there, just people being of service. And so came back, the reverse culture shock, as you know, is harder than the culture shock going over there. And I kept seeing these like online, like make money online, makeup companies and things like that. And I was like, oh, like makeup's pretty, At that time though, I was not a confident human being. I was just a shell. It was so bad. I wouldn't even go to the mailbox. I say this all the time. I wouldn't even go to the mailbox without putting makeup on. Like you wouldn't catch me dead because I was so insecure about myself, And I was also one of those girls that you did not want to be in my inbox if you had like one of those low ticket MLMs trying to recruit me. Cause I was like, get that stuff away from me.
No,
I'm out and I'm not that girly, And it was actually through LinkedIn. Someone sent me a very professional message about an opportunity. And I was like, you know what? I really like how you positioned that. I will take a look at it. Okay. It didn't seem like it was like, hey girls, like spammy, you know what I mean? So that was my first experience into any type of entrepreneurship was a makeup company back then. And I was horrible.
Okay.
I was horrible. I had no business acumen, had no business skills. I was working a job making like $20,000 a year. And I was like, you know what? I see the vision now though.
Right.
See the vision. This may not be my vehicle forever, but it will acquire me some skill sets so that eventually one day I could possibly leave my 9 to 5. And so
were you doing this both at the same time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a couple different ones actually that I was doing. So I was like, go to work during the day and then work on my hustle at night, work on my personal development, work on, creating some type of additional income outside of my 9 to 5. So over the course of about 5 years, I would say 5 to 6 years. And I was never really successful, right? Like I would make like $1,000 a month or something like that, which back then was significant. But now I'm like, there's no way. And I probably honestly broke even with the products that I was purchasing, right? So 5 years of doing that, I saved up right around $22,000.
Okay.
Around 22,000.
Yeah, which is,
Yeah. I mean, that's good. Like kudos, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, the average person doesn't even have $2,000 saved in an emergency fund, right? Like to put it into perspective. So, which is a whole other conversation, which we could dive into as well, the importance around, but literally those are the stats and you had 22. So that's pretty good.
Yeah. And, I was really attached to that 22 because it had taken so long to create $22,000 in my savings. It was a direct reflection of the amount of hustle and sacrifice and work over 5 years. So I was super attached to it. My husband now, which was my boyfriend at the time, came to me and he had been investing into crypto and learning that really right when it had started. And he was like, hey, can I have that 22,000? And I was like, whoa, buddy. Whoa. Do you know how long it took me to make 22,000? Right?
Yeah.
I was like, no, but I'll give you half.
Okay. I mean, that's still 50%. That's still a lot.
So I gave him half. And over the course of, this is where I always talk about you have to become the person. And I'm sure, we're on the same wavelength with this. You have to become the person in order to have and to hold any large amount of money, wealth. And at that time in my life, I was not financially literate. I had no idea what an asset was, like anything like that. I was young. So over the course of 10 months after I gave my now husband this $11,000, I watched that $11,000 grow from 11,000 to 15 to 20. And at that point I was like, take it out. Like we doubled it.
Yeah.
Right? And he was like, no, I'm not doing that. And I'm like, okay. And so, 6 months in, it's at 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. And it eventually got up to right around like 600,000. And
Wow.
during the course of those 10 months taught me a lot.
Sure.
And, not everybody's going to go through that same journey, but the things that I learned along that journey are things that I can pass down to people to help collapse that time frame from, where they were at to where they want to be wealth-wise.
Right.
In the span of that 10 months, I had to become a whole different person. I finally realized that income doesn't have to be directly correlated to the amount of effort that you put in on a daily basis.
Right.
And that was one of the coolest things that I'd ever seen, because I would wake up and I'd have another $100,000 in my account. And I'm like, I did nothing for this.
Right. Yep.
So that's the power of investing. And so then it really shifted. Like, why am I working 60, 70 hours a week? Again, direct effort for capped income.
Yep.
That's all I was ever going to have. So then my wheels really got to turning. I was like, how can we expedite this? Right? So then I eventually got super burnt out from like those makeup companies, skincare companies. And I went into this 2-year just inclusive, self-inclusive, reclusive. That's the word I'm looking for. I was super burnt out and we couldn't pull that money out because we wanted it to keep growing. And I was like, you know what? Like, at that point, I really didn't really want to be on this earth anymore. Like, we're going to go there. And I got help. I got therapy. I invested into therapy, and I knew that if I could become the person that I wanted to be, I would be able to hold and have the things that I was growing, but I would not be able to do that without the growth.
Yeah.
So for a couple of years, was in therapy, working through my money blocks, working through limiting beliefs, stories that I had been told as a child, like money doesn't grow on trees. The indoctrination of you have to go to school, you have to get a good job, then you retire, and then you have 5 years to live your life. I had to work through all of that to realize that that wasn't actually what had to be my reality. That's just the story that I was settling for.
Yeah.
And so
okay, you shared, well, I was going to say, you shared something very vulnerable, very personal. And I think there's a lot of people that can relate to it in some scope, right? And especially after what you just shared, because from the outside, I think looking into your life at that time, especially with, you're waking up to 6-figure days, 6-figure months, having over $500,000 that has been compounding and has been growing through an investment. Most people would look in on that and go, why are you so upset or depressed, or like, how are you so down? And again, it's interesting. We started the conversation talking about Ghana and how material things, no matter what, they actually don't become your fulfillment. You can chase them all of your life, but you're not actually going to feel that joy and feel fulfilled through things. But I would love, if you're willing, to just unpack like a little bit about what was the discrepancy that was happening with you internally, because there's a story that's happening upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And also then the literally creating wealth that you were sitting in, it wasn't money not coming in, because you had that there. And I think that is very relatable for a lot of people to go, wow, that's me too.
Yeah. And that, you're right. Like, it's something that people typically don't talk about, but I think it's a shared, unspoken thing that especially women, a lot of women go through.
Sure.
And it came from just the constant hustle of, working 60 hours a week and then going home, working on the weekends on this side hustle, right? Like, it all was building up. And I had never allowed myself to actually take a step back and process everything that I went through, it just, I kept shoving it down. You know, I'm the type of person, and I'm sure, you know, people listening might be able to relate to this, but especially women, it's always the I'm fine, I'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine,
Right.
I'll figure it out. I got this. Right? Women are
Yeah.
very powerful in that, but we also have to realize that, you know, our energies come from two different places, a masculine energy and a feminine energy. And if we deplete our feminine energy, our masculine has nothing to pull from. And eventually that's going to lead to burnout. And that's exactly what I did. And
Mm-hmm.
it was definitely a very difficult time in my life where I didn't even want to get out of bed. I didn't want to go socialize. The things that brought me joy brought me even more stress. And the only thing that
Mm-hmm.
really fixed that was rest and recalibration through someone holding up a mirror of the things that, you know, I'd been battling in my head and working through it.
So what did you need to reframe? I know you talked a bit about your money story, your money narrative, you know, and even just to kind of pause for a second and break that down for some people, because sometimes I think, especially on Instagram, like we hear these like catchphrases and people are like, what the hell does that even mean? You know, or like feeling like it's like woo woo when it's actually really not. It's, you know, it's a real thing. And you shared growing up, you know, that you had constantly heard like money doesn't grow on trees, and you begin to create a story, a money story, which then it gets embedded into your brain, which is your mindset. And through that, that's how you see the world, right? Like it creates that lens. And so when you were in this, let's call it like your incubation period of going deep within self and doing this work, in letting that go, what did you reframe to come out to heal yourself from that?
I would say probably the reframe after that was that there's a better way.
Mm.
When you know, I remember as a kid growing up, we'd go to the toy store, and we didn't come from money at all. And they, you know, my parents would say, you can either get this one or this one. And in my little
Right.
brain, you know, all kids are like, why do I have to choose, right? Why
Totally.
can't I have
Yes.
both? And at
Yeah.
the root of, you know, 95% of everyone's problems, it's money.
Yeah.
It's money. It's lack of income, able to support and sustain the lifestyle that actually is going to give you the freedom that you want. And so
Yeah.
early on, I knew that I didn't want to have a and or life, like you can only have this or. I wanted a both and life. I
Yeah.
wanted that. And that was the recalibration of how do I get that? How do I get that? What can I do? And it was just becoming a better version of myself. My favorite quote by Will Smith is, you know, you don't set out to build a wall. You set out every
Mhm.
single day to lay a brick as perfectly as a brick can be laid, and eventually you have a wall. And
Yes.
so that's what
So
I
true.
did. Every single day, I worked on the little things I could control. And then that eventually led to, you know, where we're at now.
So let me ask you in like, because that's a great analogy. I love that quote. I've actually never heard that quote by Will Smith, and he's got some good ones. So
Hey,
I've not
Doug.
heard that. That's new for me. But it's a really tangible analogy of what you said, like the little things to do every single day and the compound effect that eventually you like look at it and you're like, holy crap, I like just built this whole wall. Like it's there and it's standing. Were there things in your routine? And I'm a huge routine person, like very, yeah, I love routines, rituals. Like I'm very like, you can't control what happens in your day, but you can control how you start it and you can control how you end it. Everything in between, you don't have the control. And so in this brick laying process that you were rebuilding, reframing, and envisioning the woman that you want to become, what were some of your daily habits that you structured into your day?
There was always some form of personal development. I think the
Mm.
average millionaire, they say, reads like, what, 30 books a year?
Yeah,
So I
something
started
like that.
looking,
Yeah.
yeah, so I started looking at how people with actual wealth not like these Louis and Gucci's. Like those are fine. They're great to have, but it's like you said before, it's deeper than that. So
Yeah.
how are these people behaving? What are the things that they're doing? And so that was one thing that I noticed, right?
Mm-hmm.
The majority, the majority of millionaires read at least 30 books a year. So that was a non-negotiable in my day, was some form, maybe it was 15 minutes that day. I was fitting
Yeah.
in some type of either listening to an audiobook, listening to a podcast. I was developing myself in some way. That was a non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
Next, priority was my sleep. Because if you're lacking on
Yeah.
sleep, physiologically, your cortisol spikes.
Yeah.
And you
It's so
can't be
true.
effective in a state like that. Next was what was I putting in and on my body?
Mm-hmm.
The three top
Both
things.
so equally important. Yep.
Mhm. Yep. So, I remember getting rid of about 90% of everything in our pantry. I went in a rabbit hole. I read books. I
Yeah. Yeah.
studied peer-reviewed articles about the chemicals in our food. And I actually still
Mm-hmm.
to this day have the list of chemicals that I avoid in food and what it does to your body. And
Yeah.
I got rid of all that. And finally, for once in my life, when I did that, I didn't have the anxiety that I had. I had a clear vision. The depression that I was suffering from went away because it never
Of
fully
course.
went away even after therapy. It was still a battle, but it never fully went away until I prioritized what was going in my body. And finally,
Yeah.
I had this very clear vision of the life that I wanted. So it was what was I putting in my body?
Yeah.
What was I putting in my brain? And then sleep to really recalibrate and let it all sit in. Those are my three non-negotiables. And still to this day, in some sort of movement, you got to move in your body, but those are my three
Totally.
negotiables. And then when I really found meditation, that was something
Yeah.
that really helped you to be able to get in your body and out of your head, because we have so many stories and so many things and so many limiting beliefs and so many negative things, especially when you're starting out in this journey of becoming the person that can have and hold
Yeah.
seven figures. You're going to
Yeah.
have a lot of shit going on in your brain that's telling you can't have it, you don't deserve it. Who are you?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And okay, so a couple things are coming up for me as you're talking, and I'm sure you can attest to this. But in changing your eating habits, even increasing, I'm sure, your hydration, like having good quality water, but then also mindful of what you're putting on your body will actually also determine how good of sleep you will get. Like that also has a direct impact, on it.
Yep.
But one of the things as you're talking about meditation that's coming up for me is I had such an adverse reaction to not people that meditate, but just meditation in general. When I would hear people being like, oh, I meditated for an hour, a half hour, I'm like, number one, my first reaction always was, who the hell has time for that? Like, who has time to just sit and be still for an hour in a day? Like, who does that? But very similar to you, and I think most people who are top performers and achievers all looked at people who are living and more accomplished than them and goes, okay, successful people leave secrets. They leave clues. So like, what are they doing? And when you look at, I don't want to say all, I'm not an absolute person, but when you look at the vast majority of successful people who have made it, those top 1% earners, majority of them will tell you that they meditate to some extent in the day. So, me too. I'm like, okay, I got to get on this. I got to try it. And, you start with what is tangible. Like I remember thinking it was a win when I could meditate for 2 minutes. I was like, yes, I did it,
Yes.
It was like, oh my God, my mind, or being like, okay, we need this speed meditation. Isn't there a speed meditation? Like that was me in the beginning. And so it was like, it's not to to feel that you have to right away start with a 30-minute or even a 15-minute. Like, I remember when that felt like 2 hours. It was like, this is so long. But the importance of not just stilling your mind, but giving your brain the discipline to let things go and to breathe. Like, that to me is what it is for the brain. It's like, you can just sit and breathe, you know?
Yeah.
And create space, release, let go, recalibrate, all of the things. So I'm not surprised that you brought that up and needed to share that, because I'm like, I had such an adverse reaction to it at the beginning. And I still think a lot of people do, you know, even reading. I'll share that with you too. I hated reading when I was younger. I was the queen. I don't know if you remember Cole's Notes. I think you're a little younger than me, so you might not remember Cole's Notes, but that was basically the cheat sheet, the cheat book for the actual book. And when I was in high school, I used to do that to write my essays. I'm like, I'm not reading a book, and reading's not cool, right? Like, that's how I grew up, was like, reading's not cool. I'm not doing that. And then you get older and you look at what successful people are doing. You're like, wow, they read over 24 books a year. They read 30 books a year. I'm like, I can't do that, you know? And also, I'll say that's not necessarily my goal to do that, but my absolute goal is at least one book a month, or one book a month, 12 a year. That's what I started with. And now I'm like beyond that, but that's where I started. And just by breaking it down to 10 pages a day, because even 15 minutes, I'm like, 15 minutes of reading, I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. And really, when you break it down to 10 pages, it usually ends up being more than 15 minutes of reading. But psychologically, that felt easier for me, you know, to get into it. And I always say, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And the easier it becomes, the more you do it, right? It's like brushing your teeth. You don't argue with yourself about having to do it. You just wake up and you go do it. It's part of your routine. It's super easy. You know, it's a muscle that you do. No different than incorporating a new habit. Once it becomes easy, you just do it more often. And so these tangible, small bite sizes that you're like, okay. And I even tell people, start with 5 pages. You don't have to do what I did. Start with 5, you know, or 2. If that's a win for you, then do that. But then little by little, like every month, be like, okay, I'm going to add on another 5 pages and meditate for a couple of extra minutes, you know, and you work up that muscle, and then it becomes easier.
I still don't like, to this day, reading. I really don't. Like, if I'm on a plane, I force myself to, because it's quiet, but I enjoy what I get from it. So that helps me enjoy it as much as I can, but it's not something that I look forward to. You know what I mean? And I think people think that they need to like love something in order to do it, and you don't.
Yeah. No, it's true. And I mean, that's just the discipline, right? It's the muscle of that. And you know that it's a means to an end, and that the results are so much greater than you not doing it. Therefore you do it. You know?
Yep. Exactly.
So, Stef, I want to dive in a bit onto like the business side, because you are a gal that's gone from low ticket hustle to high ticket coaching and selling yourself. You know, you are a CEO today, yourself, and running a multi 7-figure company. And what kind of are your systems or your tools, like around automations or some of your non-negotiables, that, because most people think they have to be able to do everything in order to get to where you are. And so I would love to just dive into some of the nitty gritty, some of the tangible that would get people thinking like, okay, if I want to get to where she is, I need to start to implement X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. Obviously, my favorite way to build a business is online. Like, that's my background. I was so bad at it when I first started. Like I told you, I went and got certified as a social media strategist so I could learn the skill set so that I would never feel like that again. You know, that's been a constant pattern in my life of, I don't want to feel like this, so let me level up my skill set. So, you know, I didn't start with automation. I didn't start with systems. What I started with was the basics. That's it. And until someone can master the basics, they shouldn't move on to anything that's more complex because you haven't laid the foundation yet. So for me and what I do, I am a high ticket sales coach strategist for a direct sales company right now. Like that's my main bread and butter. And then I also, we launched an academy a few months ago where we teach people how to build an authentic inline business online. So whether it's they're a real estate agent and they want to branch into online, we show them how to do that. B2B, because that's what I used to do, corporate sales. Same thing. It doesn't have to be like you partner with a company. I do, but the things in order to build a 7-figure business online are going to be the basics. It doesn't matter what company, what business you want to start as an entrepreneur, you need to network with people. You need to learn how to have conversations. And it doesn't have to be, go pitch my product, pitch my business, pitch my service, none of that. It's how do we have a conversation and a connection between two human beings, number one. And how does that transfer online? I think a lot of people, when they go to build a business or take their, offline business to online, they think that they have to be a completely different person. And they don't. They have to just be them. We always talk about like brand strategies and what is your brand? Your brand is just you. So who are you at your core?
Right.
Who are you? Monetize yourself. What do you love to do in life? What can you help people with?
And that's what people are looking for, right? Like they want to be able to relate. And that's where you find your people. That's where you find your clientele, is by being you. And I mean, most people can tell right away, like if you feel genuine or not, or I should say, if you don't know what you're talking about, right? Like if you're trying to show up pretending to be something that you're not, and there's a really big difference in envisioning who you want to become and being her now and embodying her. That's a different conversation. But I'm talking specifically about like in business, you can smell when it's not real, and so showing up as you and your authentic self and your stories. Like this is one of the things I always say to people is nobody can tell you no or you're wrong for your own lived experience. And that's like the real power. Like people can question so much. Like you throw out a statistic, like we just threw out one today. Do most millionaires and billionaires read 30 books a year? Somebody would probably comment and be like, actually, it's 28.5. Okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's always that person that's going to do that. You're like, exactly. And you're like, okay, but come on, can you get the point? But like when it's your story, nobody can come back and like fact check you on that and be like, actually, like that's not how you felt, or that's not what you learned. That's not your learned lesson, and you're uniquely you. And that's why you're here on this planet. So I love that you said like you are your brand.
You just need to document your journey. You need to tell your story, and that's it. And people want to overcomplicate that. Did you start a new business? Are you making candles? Like document that every single day, like what you're doing. You don't have to be an expert at something. You just need to know 1% more than somebody else out there on the internet. And then you can teach them. You can be the authority for them.
Absolutely. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And there's usually people who are less qualified than you that are doing more than you just because they're showing up. Right. And we've all been there. Like, always. I mean, even truthfully, like right now, like I'm there right now looking in my next stage of evolvement. And I'm like, I can't believe what they are doing. And I'm like, and kudos, that's my own, like, I know better. Right. It's like, so that's like where, you're being called to like level up as well. Sometimes like when you see that, it's like that mirror and you're like, okay, I got to show up. I got to grow. I got to evolve. I got to do it and step in.
If this episode is bringing you value, can I please ask you for 30 seconds of your time to subscribe to the show from wherever you're tuning in from? Leave a review and share this episode. This is how we amplify the message, we grow the show, and we multiply the impact for women.
I wanted to ask you this. What are your thoughts on AI? Because obviously in the business space, it can be a little controversial. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's only going to get faster and more entrenched in what we're doing. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on AI, and are you using it? How are you using it?
Yeah. So I love AI. As someone who runs a very large organization, multiple different businesses, like I'm in real estate too. We have investments, we have high ticket, we have the cat. Like I'm everywhere, right? For someone who has so many things going on at one time, the birth of AI has saved my mental capacity so much.
Right.
However, it cannot replace my brain. It cannot replace it. It will
Totally.
never replace it. What it can do is it can help. And I use ChatGPT, which I think everybody knows what ChatGPT is. Me and ChatGPT, like we're homies. We have conversations about
Yeah.
everything. If I have a weird looking pimple, I'm talking to ChatGPT about it.
Yeah. I hear you.
ChatGPT
No,
helps
I
me with
literally
my
do the same thing.
structure. Yes.
Yeah.
Helps me with my business structure, creating trainings, creating documents, creating freebies, creating resources, like the outlines and then the bones of it. And then my personal experience and my knowledge, I get to plug into that. It gives me the framework, which probably would have taken, let's say, 5 days to create. I can create it in 30 minutes. So it collapses that time frame and the mental load. So I love ChatGPT. I love Motion Calendar. It organizes my day for me. Do you use it?
I haven't used it. No, I haven't. I'm like, you're teaching me right now. I'm like, I love this.
I love it. I am AI queen, everything. Now, when it comes to like the AI people that are out there, like people are creating themselves into AI and AI is having like these brand photo shoots and stuff. I'm not completely against it if it's done correctly. Like if you're confident and you're like, it's not hindering your view of yourself. And people
Right.
know that it's AI, right? Like, hey, like, would
Yeah.
I love to go out here and do a brand photo shoot every single week? Absolutely. But guess what? I'm going to use my AI doppelganger instead and then
Yeah.
sprinkle that in a little bit. But AI,
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to replace people, but I think it's going to weed out a lot of people that aren't on board because AI is going to need people that know how to use it.
Yeah.
And we're right
Yeah.
at the cusp
Exactly.
of, early adoption. But I think AI is a great tool and everybody should be using it in some capacity, but never, ever, ever, ever have it replace you as the human being. Use it to support the human being.
Yeah. It really is like your sidekick. Like I like that you said homie because that's like I'm the same way. I'm like I talk to her, I call it her, but I talk to her all the time because I feel like she's me. I'm like that's what I'm using her for, and if you're doing it right, you've got to train your AI, right? How you think, how you talk, and so that it can, even when you are using it, the work that it does and the frameworks that it does spit out for you, there's minimal tweaking that you need to do because you've trained it on who you are, right?
It took me months
for
to
your
understand
No, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say it took me months to really sort of understand like who my ideal avatar, my ideal client was that I was wanting to serve online. Months. And I still never was really like understanding it. I was like, well, maybe it's this, maybe it's this. I didn't have clarity. I can do that now. And I teach people to do this like on my team and everything in under 5 minutes. And it's so clear. That. They're like, oh my God, this makes sense. Thank you so much. So it's that collapsing timeframes and the knowledge.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Do you want to share with us what it is? I'm like, do you want to walk us through a couple minutes of what you're doing or what more to expect on the inside?
Well, I mean, I do have a training on it. It actually lives inside my academy. That's what I teach people on how to do. Okay. So regardless of what an industry, but I've put together some prompts and they go in a sequential order to where you put in this prompt and what you do, who you want to work with. So for me, it'd be like, I want to work with red type personalities, highly motivated women who aren't in the victim mindset. Like I get really deep into the actual person that I want to work with. And it's always going to be some form of you, right? It's always going to be some form of you. So really dial that down. Women that want to leave their corporate jobs, that want to travel more, that want to have freedom, that want to build a 7-figure, portfolio, that don't want to have to stress and struggle. Like those are the things that I put in there. And there's about 7 different prompts after that, that happen in a sequential order to where you're building this ideal customer persona through your chat GPT. Now, once you have that dialed in, you're able to use that thread for anything. So like, hey, chat, could you help me create the next 7 days of content speaking to my ideal avatar, their pain points, their psychographs, their demographics? It gives you all of that, where these people are hanging out, and help me really speak to that person so that I can help them. Within 30 seconds, I have 7 days worth of social media posts that my people are actually going to want me to create, that's going to convert into sales.
I love that. It's so powerful. And if you haven't used it, even at the end of that 7-day content that comes out, it's giving you 4 other avenues that you can also take it, right? Whether, never mind the social media, it's like, do you want that to go into funnels? Do you want me to create a workflow for you? Like, do you want me to do DM scripts? Like, there's so many things that then AI ChatGPT takes it to another level. So I love how you are using it. You said the ChatGPT, you said motion, which I'm going to even look into. For the calendar, is there one more that you're like, I can't live without this one right now?
I love captions. That helps me create my content because my brain is so sporadic. I'll have chat, script out something for me, and then I'll just put it in the captions app, and it's a transcriber. So or not a transcriber, it's a teleprompter. So I just read it, and then I can create, reels in about 5 minutes. That one's a definite go-to. Inside of my community platform, there's some AI that automates workflows. I don't think it's AI really, but Zapier.
Yeah, Zapier is a good one.
Which, Zaps different, creates workflows from different platforms that can't talk to each other. No, I've used it before, but I don't really use it now.
Yeah.
I don't really use that for anything. But chat is like my OG. Those are the ones I'm thinking of. Canva, the AI features in Canva.
Yeah. And they've really improved even from when they first launched it. I don't know if you've noticed that. Like in the beginning, I felt like it was kind of hokey pokey. It's like, I would never use this. Yeah. And I think actually once it integrated properly with ChatGPT, you know how like then that happened? That's where I noticed like the upgrade that took place. So that's a fantastic feature now to use. Okay. I want like in kind of wrapping up a little bit, I want to dive into that woman who's listening. She is hearing you have a very bold message, and if you follow Stef on Instagram, you probably already know this. And if you don't, and you're watching, you'll see it on screen. It'll also be in the show notes. So make sure you do connect with her, and follow her. You talk a lot about creating a life that you fucking love. I'm saying it. And so,
yeah, let's
go. Yeah. So speak to that woman who needs to hear from you right now about how to create that life that they fucking love.
Yeah. So it's going to be scary. It's going to be unfamiliar, and you're just going to have to accept it, because what comes on the other side of it is complete and utter freedom. And it's actually what you deserve, right? When I left my 9-to-5, when my husband and I left our 9-to-5, we had multiple millions in our assets and in our portfolio, and it was still hard. That was one of the most difficult decisions that I had ever made, because we are indoctrinated from such a young age. Again, go to school, get a good job. Like, we're trained. We are brainwashed, manipulated from a very young age. And so to break that way of thinking is going to require some courage. But on the other end, you are going to feel fucking liberated. And you're going to enjoy your life. You're actually going to be able to enjoy your life for once because it's going to be yours. It doesn't belong to anybody else. It can look however you want it to look. You want to make 7, you want to make 8 figures, you just want to make 6, like whatever is going to make you happy is okay. It doesn't have to look like what anybody else wants it to look like, but just know it's going to be really unfamiliar. It's going to be scary. And, I like to give this analogy too, right? Like you're in a vehicle, you're in your car. You have the GPS. You put it in your navigation. You can't see the entire route until you get there. You can't see it. But you know that your navigation, when you turn on your car, when you actually put effort in, you push that gas pedal, your navigation is going to route you around any construction. It's going to get you there. It's going to get you there whenever it gets you there, right? Like detach from, I need to make 7 figures in 6 months, right? Detach from any of that. Have the vision of, I want to be a millionaire. I want to do X, Y, and Z. The only thing I can do is control my controllables. So I'm going to do this, and this. And eventually I know one day I will get it. It's inevitable. But your timeline doesn't
Detaching
matter.
from the outcome.
You can't. You can't control that. And the more you try to hold on to that, the more you will not get it. I learned that the hard way. And so start your car. Put your foot on the gas. You're not going to see your destination until you get there, but you will get there. And trust and believe in yourself. Everything is figure outable. You've lived up until now through 100% of the bullshit, the trauma, the horrible things that have happened to you, and you figured it out and you're better because of it. This is no different. So if you really are truly wanting and craving that life of freedom where you don't have to wake up and check your bank account and, oh my God, this bill came out and I can't pay for it. I don't have any savings, my whatever happened, you don't have to live that life anymore. That's a story that you created. And at any point, it's just a decision away that you're going to move differently right now.
So powerful. So good. So powerful. So good. Stef, in closing, I ask every guest that comes on, this is the wealth drop, like the mic drop, your moment. What is one piece of wealth wisdom that you would want to pass down to the next generation of women?
I would say, do not think that you can create wealth based on working a 9-to-5. You have to have some type of leverage. You have to have financial understanding. So that should be a skill set that you learn early on. Investing, assets, how to make your money have money babies while you're sleeping, because you will never, ever, ever become wealthy working a 9-to-5.
Yeah, it's so true. Or save your way to wealth.
No.
That's another thing I say all the time. When I think about you saying 9-to-5, it's tied to that. We're always like, save, save, save. Get a safe job, save, save, save. So those two things. No 9-to-5, no saving your way to be wealthy, right?
Your savings is a depreciating asset, not an appreciating asset, because over time you're losing money with the money that you have in your savings. It's constantly depreciating.
Totally.
So take that money, put it somewhere it's going to grow.
Yeah. So good. Such good advice, good wisdom. I have a fun question for you. It's a very deep question, actually, but each guest that comes on leaves a question for the next guest without knowing who that person is going to be. So I kind of call it the wealthy vault. So you don't know who it is that you're leaving it for and who's going to receive it. So the question that is for you is, what is the legacy work that you are here to leave on the planet? And will you in your lifetime fulfill it?
Ooh, my legacy work is to make as many 7-figure women as humanly possible. It's humanly possible. I will absolutely do it. My goal is to create thousands of 7-figure women who came from nothing, who had the odds stacked against them, that never believed in themselves, that just needed a chance and a vehicle. That's all they needed. They had everything else inside of them that they just had to develop. And they know they deserve it, but they have no idea how the hell they're going to do it. Those are the women that I want to help reach 7 figures. And by God, yeah, I'm going to do it.
Fuck yes. I love it. I love it. Well, Stef,
like brings tears to my eyes.
Thank you for coming today. Oh, I love that. It's so well. And I mean, this is, well, perfect ending to why you're even on the Wealthy CEO podcast, because that is the mission, to see more wealth move through the hands of women, and having women be able to not just create it, but be able to hold it and keep it and grow it. That's the purpose. So I love that it's your legacy and you're already doing it. You're already doing it. So the fulfillment is already in motion. And thank you. Thank you for your time and coming here today onto the podcast. We've had some crazy glitches behind the scenes, but we made it through. So I think next time you come on the podcast, it should be in studio. We're going to have to fly. Either I'll come to you or you come to me, but we'll have to do in studio to make sure that it doesn't happen. Whatever you were going to come and say on the other side of my question was going to break the internet. Is like, very powerful that it stopped, quite literally. So.
Yep.
Thanks, girl.
If something in today's episode resonated with you or sparked a shift, tag me on IG or send me a DM. I genuinely love hearing what lands for you. And if it spoke to you, share it or leave a quick review. It helps more women find this show and step into their own wealthy era. Until next time, lead with purpose, live with intention, and stay wealthy.